fam? Today we're gonna learn how to make some badass ninja throwing spikes on the cheap. Then we're gonna learn how to throw them. Stay tuned. For this project, I grabbed 3 of these long timber spikes from my local hardware store. These things are super useful. I use them for all types of different projects and they're only like 75 cents a piece. So for starters, we're gonna wanna lock down one of these spikes into our vise. Then, using a hacksaw, I remove the head of the spike. Next, I go over it with a file just to make sure there's no sharp edge left behind. We are gonna be handling this a lot and we wanna make sure there are no little metal splinters to bother us. If you have a sling, you might wanna save the little heads that come off as they make really great ammo. Next, we're gonna wanna put more of a point on these bad boys than what they normally come with. Now you can definitely use a file for this, it totally works, it just takes a little bit longer. But if you happen to have a belt or disc sander, you'll be able to get a point you want on there in about a minute. And that's it for making these, super simple. Now let's learn how to throw them. So the technique we're gonna try today is called the no spin throw. It starts by finding the center point of the knife or spike you're gonna be throwing. With that in mind, keep the tip of your index finger on that balance point, then hold the spike firmly to your palm with the other 3 fingers, and pinch it into place with your thumb. The way this works is when you release the spike, you wanna run your index finger down the spine. As you can see, this will cause the spike to leave your hand almost completely vertical. Normally what'll happen is when you throw the spike, it'll want to start to turn in the air immediately. By sliding your finger along the spine, you counteract this action, helping to make a more controllable and predictable arc towards your target. A good way to practice this is to stand in front of your target and try tossing the spike from one hand to the other while brushing the spine. If done right, the spike should land flat in the other hand. Once you feel comfortable, purposely miss your hand and see if the spike sticks into the target. If it does, you know you're doing it right. As far as footwork, I like to keep my left leg forward and just lean my weight onto it when I throw. But everyone might be a little bit different here, so just play with it and see what feels right to you. Start really close when you first start practicing this throw. At this stage, you're really just trying to get used to that brushing motion with your finger. Now just keep trying until that release feels natural. Once that feels kind of natural, you want to start paying attention to how the spike is hitting the target. If you see the spike hitting the target flat, for example like this, or if you're sticking it into the target but it's at a downward angle like this, you know you're releasing it too late. So just to show you what that looks like, here's a slow motion of a late release. It's right at this point and kind of far forward that I'm releasing on this throw. As a result, the spike turns too far over and lands flat against the target. Now here's one where I did it right. If you'll look, I released much sooner than the last time. And this causes the spike to arc cleanly into the target. Now that might have been a little hard to see the difference between the two, so watch as I fade back and forth between them. So starting with the one that was correct, now as I fade into the throw where I missed, you see that it's much further away than the one that I did correctly. Hopefully that made it a little bit easier to see what I was talking about. Now once you get more confident with sticking your spikes closer up, try moving back little by little. Start in the position you're comfortable with and stick a spike. Then take a half a step back and try again. Keep doing this until you find a range in which you miss. That's where you need to practice. Just keep judging your hit and changing your release times until you can stick it consistently. Now after a while, I felt comfortable enough to start throwing a little bit harder, so I decided to switch over to a log and see how these things stuck. And even with my limited skill level in this, they stuck into the wood perfectly. And there you have it! For 75 cents a piece, you can make yourself some badass ninja throwing spikes. Just make sure you're practicing safely, and as always, keep leveling up, you.